Welcome everyone to the Dennis Boy Jr. podcast. Glad you guys could tune in today. And in today's episode, I want to get into health a little bit. I've just had my 1-year anniversary. I would like to say as a vegan. However, I do know that there's some things that I still need to make some tweaks and modifications to really call myself a full-fledged vegan. You know, someone who does not consume any animal products. But I will say that it has been a year since I've last consumed or eaten any animal products or any dairy products. So since April 29th, April 28th was the last day that I ate any meat. So April 29th was my first full day with no meat, 2018. April 29th, 2019, still no meat and no dairy consumed. I think in that time, I might have eaten a hamburger bun that had some milk in it, and a few times had some sour cream and onion chips that also had milk in it. Outside of that, nothing. And I definitely feel different. I felt better for the most part. Then I had there was a few, I'd say a couple of weeks where I didn't feel as good. You know, I felt as if, I don't know, like my body was like deteriorating or something. I felt like I was like crumbling apart or something. And what I realized was, you know, after a few modifications to what I was eating, that feeling went away. You know, and I went back to feeling how I had been before. A couple of updates since then. I'm still going to the chiropractor, still getting adjusted on a regular basis, not as often, which I think also attributes to some of the issues that I had been having. And, you know, being more consistent with that and staying with my appointments. Because I would usually normally go twice a month, like every other week. And I had been dropping that down to like once every 3 weeks, once a month. So I think there was like a month I didn't go at all. And during that time is like really when I kind of was like feeling like, okay, something is different. I'm not feeling the same way as I had before. And then after I went in and got adjusted, I started feeling a little bit better. And I started changing some things in my diet. I've been experimenting a lot with the foods that I eat. And, you know, the times that I go to sleep and how much sleep that I get, and also how much work that I'm doing throughout the day. And it's been very interesting. So in the last, today's May 7th, in the last, I'd say week and a half, no, because it's been part of April as well. I'd say the last 2 weeks, I had been, I guess what you would call fasting. I guess that's what people would call it, where pretty much I basically would stop eating by like 10 p.m. Because a lot of you guys, if you've been following me on Instagram and Snapchat, you know, I usually wouldn't have my last meal until like midnight, 12:30 sometimes. I'd have a smoothie before bed. And so for like 2.5 weeks, I haven't been eating after 10. And then also I haven't been eating in the morning or like eating anything solid until I'd consumed at least 4 glasses of water, which in the last week, I gotta be more accurate. In the last, I'd say 96 hours, I've increased that to 6 glasses of water in the morning before I consume any hard, I was trying to avoid that, hard foods. So we're gonna just move this because I'm driving, and I'll put it back when I stop. Now what I've realized in just that short period of time is that I haven't been as hungry. Haven't lost any weight. However, I've been sleeping very deeply. Been having dreams every night that I actually remember. And, I've been having, ever since I've been getting adjusted, I started having, dreams more often. And once I removed the dairy and the meat from my diet, I really started having dreams every night that I would actually remember. I'm pretty sure I didn't remember all the dreams. I'm pretty sure I had more than one dream throughout the night. But I would always remember at least one or two dreams every night in the last year since going vegan, which has been really cool, because for the longest I never dreamed, or I never remembered my dreams if I had them. And I was excited about that, so that was cool. And now that we're parked, I'll go ahead and put this back. Some other changes is back in October, I decided to adopt this mohawk type looking hairstyle. It's not styled at the moment. I'm just getting out of work, so it's kind of all over the place. But overall, feeling really good. I am definitely slimmer than I have been in the past. However, I'm the same weight that I have been in the past. So I'm pretty much attributing that to me not holding in water, and also not, having a lot of body fat on my body, which I'm pretty sure I still have a high level of body fat. But because a lot of foods that I consume don't contain, any type of fat really, I think it's really hard for that to stick to your body. So now that I've gone a year with no meat, in my mind, I've had this whole phasing process where I wanted to, number one, reduce my consumption of dairy. And then number two, eliminate my consumption of dairy, and then eliminate my consumption of meat. And so in April, I did that. April 2018, I did that. And now I want to go to the next phase, which would be weight training. So not necessarily lifting weights, but I'm pretty sure I'll incorporate that at some point in time this year. But exercising with resistance on a regular basis, and more, I would say, calisthenic type work, and body weight type exercises. So jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, chin-ups, what else? Squats, lunges, things that I can just do without a bunch of equipment. I mean, I do have some weights, have some dumbbells. I actually have a Olympic size weight bench and a few other things, pull-up bar, things like that. But I want to just use that to be let that be the basis of my fitness program over the next 3 months. So 91 days, 13 weeks, starting on Saturday, which, if you're listening to this podcast or watching a video on YouTube, that's going to be, today is Tuesday the 7th, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8, 9, 10. So Saturday, May 11th will be that day before Mother's Day 2019 is when I'm going to start that program, or start that next phase. So that's the health portion of the podcast for today. What's been happening, what's been up, what's coming, and what to look forward to. I'm thinking of recording some videos during that period, these next 3 months, and giving you guys an update in 3 months to kind of show you where I am right now and where I've come and where I want to go next. I think that'll cover that. So I'll definitely start recording a lot more. I won't post anything. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Not sure yet. Still running all that through my mind. But if you got some ideas or some thoughts, some comments, drop those below. Definitely read all the comments, so definitely leave those. I enjoy them. And now moving on, another change that it's happened recently is finance. One thing that I've done finance-wise is, I've mentioned this a couple of different times in conversations with people. I've done forms of it in my life over the last several years, and last week I committed myself to actually doing it the entire way and really growing as a person, and learning more ways of being resourceful to create income for myself and for my family. So out of every check that I get now, off the top, before anybody takes any money, I take 10%, and that goes into a savings account. Then there's another 10% that comes out that goes to charity, that goes to the tithing from my church. Then I've got another 10% that comes out that goes for investing and actively doing something to create additional income. So I've got a couple of different avenues which I create income online through side hustle type businesses that I run. And so the money coming that I use to kind of take care of some of the overhead for those comes out of that 10%, as well as I'm looking at some other ways to kind of store some of that money for longer term investments, for investing in real estate, if not later this year, midway through 2020. And after that, then Uncle Sam comes and takes his portion, and then I pay whatever outstanding debts that I have, and cover other life expenses. And then there's definitely what happens is there's a shortfall with doing this. And that was my biggest thing was, oh no, there's not going to be any money left to do anything, so I can't. One form of it that I did was, after Uncle Sam takes his money, then I'll take my 10%. I read in some places, and they mentioned where they talk about, pay your taxes, pay Caesar. One in a book that I read is, pay Caesar first, pay Caesar his portion, pay Caesar his share, and take your 10% and do with it what you're supposed to do with it. So that's been very interesting. And then I also, what kind of triggered me to do this was, there was a book written by Robert Kiyosaki. If you want to grab it or listen to the audio, I may have the link in the description below if you're watching the video on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, or there may be a link on Amazon somewhere to get the book. It's not an affiliate link, so don't worry about me trying to earn any money off you buying the book. I just think it's a book that everybody should read in increasing their financial intelligence. Because I read a lot of books by Robert Kiyosaki, and that was like one book that I wanted to read, but every time I went to the bookstore, it was never there. And they were always talking about, oh, you can order it online, and there was just something in me that was like, oh, I don't want to wait to get the book. And so I never ordered it online, which is really dumb, because it had been like almost 2 years since I'd like seen that book and kind of like went through his list of books that he has and had never read it. And then for some odd reason, somehow or another, I came across the audiobook on YouTube, and I came across it on a day where it was like literally a day where I didn't have anything to do. It was like a self-care day, like just a me day. I was dog sitting for a friend, and so I was at their house, and I just listened to the audiobook. Like that was one of the things that I did that day was I listened to the entire book. It was, I want to say it was like three or 4 hours in length. Like I said, there should be a link to something, either the audiobook or the which is on YouTube, or the hard copy version on Amazon or something or whatever, if you want to check that out. And in that book they talked about increasing your financial intelligence, and that there's 5 different pieces to that. And one of those pieces were budgeting your income. And he mentioned there being 2 types of budgets. There being a budget deficit and then a budget surplus. And he says that most people plan for a budget deficit. And that's what a lot of people who, basically everyone who's not rich, they plan for a budget deficit, like saving money, tithing, and giving to charity, and investing their money. They know they should do it, but they don't, because it's not a priority for them. So out of all the different things that are priorities in our life, saving money, tithing, and investing are at the bottom of the priority list. And he shared what him and his wife Kim did when they made their budget surplus to become wealthy. And one of those, what happens is what he shared was, whatever we make, 30% goes into our asset column. That's our money. And then he mentioned that he shared with his bookkeeper that the bookkeeper was supposed to basically pay everything else with the remaining money, which of course there wasn't enough money to pay everything else. And that triggered for me, because I was like, oh. And then they mentioned about how we swallowed our pride and we did what we had to do to make ends meet, because we weren't not going to take this 30%, this saving, tithing, and investing money for ourselves to make sure that we could build something for our future. And I grappled with it that day for a little while, and it was like trying to move stuff around. I was like, man, there's really not going to be any money left. And I just had a choice to make, because thinking about it, like just for myself, it was like, okay, then either you're going to do this or you're not. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do it, and I'll just have to figure it out. And so there's already things in place that I can do, that I'm doing to earn extra money. Like with the dog sitting, I'm dog sitting, making extra money. I drive for Uber, making extra money. One of my companies online, where I sell print products, I make extra money through that. I have a travel company, all right, that I work with and make money from that. Then once I start getting into real estate and investing in real estate, the rental income, right, I'll be making money from that. So, there's a lot of different ways to make money. And then even a lot of my friends who they might ride for Lyft, or they do DoorDash or Uber Eats or Postmates, or, my brother was doing online surveys for a little while. There's a lot of different ways. There's having a job is not the only way to make money. Basically, is what I'm saying. And to be open to different ways of creating income for yourself, as long as it's legitimate and it's like legal. Like, why would you not be open to it? Like, it's 2019. So just thinking about that, and it's like, okay, it's going to do 2 things, which I've noticed in the last week since I've had this budget in place. Thursday will be the next time that those deposits hit in that manner, is that it forces you to look at your spending habits. I found out that, I was spending a lot of money in places that I can't afford to spend money at. And, for the wants, not the needs, but the wants that I had in my life. And so it's really forced me to kind of tighten up and like get a grip on the different ways that I would just let the money flow away from me, and to not be so loose with it, to kind of to hang on, not to hang on, but to allocate it and move it in places where it's more beneficial, I think, long term. So that, and then also just the thought process of me thinking on a consistent basis, all right, how much money needs, what's the shortfall, like how much money needs to be created this month to cover everything. And in the beginning, or at least that first week, I was just like, okay, and this was like I don't want to say a poor mindset, but it was a mindset that I think was limiting for me, was that I just wasn't going to spend any money, right? I was just going to just live off like the bare nothingness of whatever was left after I kind of after I moved everything. And it was like, what kind of way is that to live? So after about, this last week, I was like, okay, I'm not going to enjoy doing that. It's all right. Now let's think more outside the box. What are some different things that you can do to create that additional income? And then these other areas where you are spending income, do you really need to spend that money there, right? Is that what you necessarily have to spend, or can you put that somewhere else? Like money that you're spending on, getting drinks, or like going out to eat, like going out to restaurants. Instead of doing that, can you take that money and buy groceries, right? And then make your food for the week so that, boom, you have food all week, right? Just like stuff like that. And so that's kind of like what's been like just running through my brain recently. And I think that's what I'm going to leave today's podcast on, is just, those two key things. And probably in the next episode, what you guys will probably hear more of is a transition and I guess the next level of vegan that I'll be turning into outside of now working out more consistently, is the type of food that I'm eating. Because once you kind of jump into this world of not consuming dairy and not consuming meat, there's a lot to learn. It's not like going, I won't say it's going to school, but it's a learning process. It's like, okay, cool, you're not eating meat and you're not eating dairy. Great. However, there's more to it than that. And so that's the process that I'm going through right now, is all the other things, like, making sure that the food that you buy is clean, and how to clean the food to make sure that, you're not consuming pesticides, which can do harm to you long term if you're consuming that over a long period of time. And, the types of food that I'm eating, like for a long while time, I was like, okay, I'm eating this and getting my nutrients from this. After further, learning and education, it's like, okay, now there's a thought process of, am I eating an acidic food, or am I eating an alkaline, I don't even know the word, but basically an alkaline food, a food that's electrical or a food that's non-electrical. And, just looking at what I've been eating since January 1, 2019, a lot of that food has been acidic. And so I was like, oh, well, that's interesting to know, because I would like move things around, like the types of food that I would eat each week, and would notice how I would feel differently based on what I was eating for the week. And kind of going back and looking at, my Instagram and what I was eating, I was like, oh, okay, well, acid. It's like, all right, cool. Well, I've done half of the work where, I'm not eating food that had blood in it anymore. But now it's the process of, okay, these are all the foods that you're eating that have starch in them. And, is my body really predisposed and really, is my chemical makeup that of someone who should be consuming a lot of starch? So that's the process that I'm going through right now, and that I'm experimenting with and learning more about myself, and how my body works and whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna end with that. Even though I said I ended earlier, but I'm gonna end with that. And hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast, and look forward to you on the next episode. All right, check you later.